Hello, and welcome to the third episode of Women in Trades, the 4%. I am super excited to be working on this, and we have had so far a iron worker, a crane operator, and today we have a journeyman electrician with us. And she is LiveWireLiv. She's going to start us off by telling us a little bit about her background and what got her into the trade.
Hi everyone. I started doing this just about 7 years ago now. So I entered this in June of 2018. Right out of high school, I graduated and I just was like, I don't want to go to college. I don't want to do bookwork anymore. I didn't like doing bookwork in school. I'm gonna go do this. And I was lucky enough to be I'm in Vermont, just for a general location. I was lucky enough to have a lot of resources in high school that were kind of pointing me in a direction that worked for me as someone who didn't really want to go to college. They had a lot of options for us. So I remember as early as middle school, them bringing me from my elementary school to the vocational area career tech center we have here in right here in middle of Vermont, basically. And they bring kids in as little as 13, 12 and just show them that this is an option even, but you're not really thinking about it like that when you're that little. So I remember seeing it when I was little, like some of the different classes they did, like they had human resources, natural resources, building trades, welding, automotive, health resources, business, everything. And I checked a bunch of them out. I checked the welding out, I checked the carpentry out, and I ended up going with the natural resources one. So I was cutting trees down and stuff in school. And while I was doing that class, they really made it apparent to me that if I wanted to stay in Vermont, that I was gonna have to find either a career choice that gives me some money, gives me some financial freedom, and gives me the ability to kind of work. We go through really bad snowstorms sometimes. Like you want to be able to stay home for a day or two and be stable for those couple of days and not have it set you back. Shout out to my teacher at the Career Tech Center, because he was kind of the one who was like, you need to think of a real career and got the wheels turning. So my dad did HVAC and carpentry, and he literally built the house that him and my mom live in and that I've lived in. And it's one of those things when you build something like that, it's hard to say bye to it. And my parents still are there, and it was really nice to build a house like that and go through the experience. I think it also kind of pushed me this way, but kind of seeing my dad do that and seeing what he did on top of building the house, he worked full time on top of getting out of work and building our house. And so I really admired that work ethic my whole life, from when my dad was like, hey, maybe you should try electrical work. So it was kind of my dad and my teacher and my mom who really were like, maybe you'll like this, since I was pretty clear that I didn't want to go to college. So that's kind of that. It's a long intro, but that's exactly what landed me where I am today. It was just the high school and everyone pushing me this way.
No, that's perfect. And it's really awesome that you were pushed to do those programs when you were that age, because I also went to Career Center, but I didn't even see the automotive or the welding as an option for me. Everyone's like, "Oh, go to cosmetology." And I'm like, "Okay." So I looked at the cosmetology and I was like, and I actually ended up doing digital media and graphic design in Career Center,
Yeah.
which I still do photography and stuff. So I guess it kind of relates back, and with all the social media I do. But I
Yeah.
really I wish that I would have gotten involved in the trades way younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally hear you, because what I did in high school was I cut down trees and stuff. So I wasn't really doing any of this stuff. I was more, I was more environment of like, hey, we're gonna teach you about logging and forestry. We're gonna teach you how to take a chainsaw apart. We're gonna make you read the manual and be certified. We're gonna have you run some heavy machinery, like we did bulldozers, skid steers, skidders. We did the whole 9 yards because the class they had a bulldozer and an excavator for the natural resources class, so we got to use those and kind of learn from that. And, I think that built a lot of confidence for me
I bet.
to like, oh, well, I could probably do any of these trades that these other kids are learning around me. And maybe it'll be more financially beneficial for me to look into this stuff, because the way I was going in it looked like I was just looking at a really physically hard life of like logging trees, and it's awesome and I have so much respect for it. It didn't seem like something I could do in the long run, and like I don't want to be cutting trees in the winter here, to be honest. Like
Yeah.
it's for absolute beasts, and yeah, we're badass women. I just didn't want to do the log.
Yeah, it's awesome that you were able to like get the experience and learn about it though, regardless. And that's what I tell women who like don't know what they want to do. I'm like, it doesn't hurt to try something, and if you don't like it, like try another trade until you find what's right for you and where you fit in. Like,
Right, absolutely. I mean, they give you a lot of little options. So I mean, if you're young and in school, like in middle school and high school even, you might not even be in one of those classes now. You might feel like, ah, it's too late. I'm like a senior in high school and I didn't do this stuff. Well, it doesn't really matter because, you could pick up an apprenticeship with something that you're interested in and just be straightforward with them and be like, if it's electrical or plumbing or something like that, you could definitely go to like a smaller shop, and you could even ask them like, I kind of want to do labor work for you guys, and I kind of want to spend a couple months figuring out if this is really what I do. Because I've seen that happen even since I've obtained my license. I've seen people kind of go through little like spurts of trying to figure out if they want to do this or not. And there's no way of knowing other than trying it and doing it. Unlike college, you don't come out with a bunch of debt just trying it. So
you'll get
that's a
paid to try it normally.
Right, exactly. So that's how my apprenticeship went. So my employer paid for all of my schooling, and all I had to supply were like the books. And I'm not part of the union, so I don't like know anything about like that stuff so much. I just know that, if I really wanted to, I could have just stopped halfway through it and there wouldn't have been any skin on my back.
Right.
Not saying people should do that, but it really, you could try something new and all of a sudden find something you really like doing, and bonus points, it's a great career.
Mhm.
But it's hard getting people to see it.
Yes, I'm also not in a union, so I was gonna ask. I don't judge either way. Like I support all tradespeople, so like union or not. I know that it really depends on your area, like how strong your union is, obviously, especially in the States, because I do have some Canadian ladies that I've had on here too, and I
Yeah.
think they have different like unions up there. But
I
yeah,
agree.
it really depends on the area.
Yeah, I think it does too, because honestly, like I kind of live in the sticks. Like there is not really a place where there's not big commercial buildings being put up where I am. I mean, you might see like a brand new Home Goods go in or something, and that's a pretty
Mhm.
big deal for where I am, like it's just it's not a city by any means, so there's definitely not any of that crazy work going around. But I work for a company that will do anything just about in terms of locally for us, like within an hour and a half away. So we'll do like service calls and stuff. So
That's cool.
people's light switch is not working, their breakers tripped and everything, the little stuff. But then we'll also wire like a huge house from the ground up. We'll do that stuff. We'll go into hospitals and we'll do some stuff. We haven't in a long time, but I know the first like 3 years I was here, we were doing that stuff. But I mean, for the most part, people really need people working in their houses. I mean, the housing market is a crazy thing right now. And as crazy as it is for the lower and middle class, for everyone else, they're buying houses and they want you working in them. So there is a lot of work right now in the world, and people are looking for electricians, they're looking for plumbers, they're looking for welders. There's a huge demand for them. I mean, there's definitely no hiding I mean, soon I think it's like 5 million jobs are going to open up soon in the next decade just because the baby boomers are going to be retiring.
Yep.
I don't know if that is a politically correct thing to call them,
It's
but
fine.
that generation is retiring.
We are not politically correct on this podcast. We are blue collar women.
Yeah, like, but no, I definitely feel like we're I mean, in the next couple years, I think we're going to see even higher demand. So it's like a perfect time for like kids in high school that literally are like, well, I don't want to go learn about astronomy and physiology anymore. I'm sick of it. I don't want to do that. Like, you could come and do this, and it's really, kind of needed right now, almost more than anything, to a point, in terms of like how many people we're going to be losing.
Literally, like I look around at my crews and I'm like, luckily we are finally starting to get like more apprentices, and I'm seeing like I'm working with literally 18-year-olds, and I'm like, it's good though because we need younger people, but at the same time, like everybody else, they're just like so old, like they're in their 60s and they are like ready to be done. And
Yeah,
yeah, it is needed. And I also just bought a house, and like I work when I'm
congratulations.
not working, thank you. When I'm not working, I don't want to be working more, and I tried to find someone to like come remodel my bathroom. I can't. Literally, they're 3 months out, and then they're just so busy they don't even like. So I'm about to do it myself.
Yeah,
Like,
I was gonna say, you're literally like, you're just as good just like looking up the chicks on TikTok who do this stuff themselves. Because have you seen what some of these like stay-at-home moms are doing? They're doing
yeah,
full kitchen house renovations, and their husbands come home to it, and it's done, and it looks great. I have no idea. Like, I stay in my lane pretty hardcore. Like, I don't go over here and try to do what the plumber's doing. I don't go over here and try to do what the gas guy's
right.
doing. I
Yeah.
I'm doing sparky things, and that's it for the most part. And like, I'd like to branch out a little bit. Like, I see a lot of blue collar women on TikToks that have been notoriously known for doing one thing, starting to do really cool, crazy big projects in other directions. And I'm like, man, I could do other stuff too, but I think I might stay doing this for a little bit longer.
I know. And that was my like initial intent with my house too. I was like, I can remodel it and I can make like content and TikToks about it and stuff. But then I don't know, it's intimidating, which like I've done small plumbing jobs. I don't do very much residential, but I have. But I have like a 1940s house, and some of the plumbing is already like hillbillied.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, oh my gosh, it's like kind of overwhelming.
Well, if you can find someone nearby and stick with them, that's usually the best way. It just takes so long to get somebody out. And that's
Literally.
kind of that's what I tell people all the time. Like, cause I see people, we have an 18-year-old that we just hired, and it's awesome because it's one of those things where it's like, it's nice to see someone come straight out of high school again. I feel like I
Mhm.
hadn't seen one in like almost 4 years, you know what I mean?
Same. No, same.
So it's definitely nice to see. But I still feel like people, in their 30s and even 40s don't realize that this is still such an open option. I mean, the whole stereotypical, like, well, they don't make enough money because no one in their 30s wants to make this, or in their 40s wants to make this. But, like, in reality, things have changed a lot. And it's definitely worth a shot seeing what's around if you just hate what you're doing and you want to try anything like this. If you're interested in it, it's a really good time for it because everybody's kind of needing somebody. I mean, I don't know a company around here in any of the trades that wouldn't like take an interview with somebody right now, because it's just it's a trend right now of just people needing more help. There's a lot of work and there's not a lot of us.
And most companies are paying pretty well, like for people to start out with zero knowledge. Like our apprentices are around 17 to 20 an hour,
Yeah,
non-union. So, and that's like every 6 months you get a raise. So, like
right.
even if you do start making crappy money within 4 or 5 years, you could make over $100,000 a year depending on your area and how much you work.
I mean, and that's like one of the things I don't think people even realize too, because they're like, well, it takes so long to get to that point, and it's like, what are you gonna make in the meantime?
Right.
So like, is it really that bad of a setback even? But the whole like, I think in general we see a little bit of a gap in, I think kids, especially 18, 16, 17 year olds, I think they get a terrible rap. They get this much say in the world they have around them, and they're blamed for this much of everything around them. But in
Mhm.
reality, I remember being 16, 17, and just really wanting like everything from like women to be able to do things more, because I remember being 18 and being the only girl who graduated my high school class looking at doing something like this. There were people doing like the farming and stuff and all of that type of cool stuff, but like from the school I graduated from, like there wasn't anyone else looking to like go and do this. And I look at it now and it seems like really it's more looked at and respected. It's almost more glamified. It seems like people are like the idea of it more. Whereas when I was kind of 18, it didn't seem like anyone really wanted to do it. Now it seems like people want to do it and maybe they're hesitant. So
I
that's
feel like there has definitely been a shift because when I was in high school, I graduated in 2015. I don't know how old you are,
I
but
I graduated 2018, so I'm turning 20.
right, I'm 27, so close. But when I was in like high school, they really pushed college. Like it really wasn't even an option that was looked at or encouraged to go in the trades. And now, like, I drive down the highway and there's like billboards of like, come be a welder, come do this, come work for
Right.
this union, like blue collar. And they really are like all the brands and stuff that are pushing blue collar. It really is becoming like almost a trend. And I'm glad that it is because it needed to be.
Well, think about the Carhartt beanie thing. I mean,
Oh,
people,
yeah.
that's a whole meme, but I mean, it kind of is a trend. I mean, and that's why I think it, as much as a lot of people like to call it cheesy and stuff, like, I think people like you and me play their part in helping break the barrier and posting our little
Normalize.
videos and stuff. Because,
Yes.
I mean, at the end of the day, if you're if you happen to be some 17-year-old girl just happens to see your video of you doing something cool at work and she's like, damn. And maybe she doesn't think anything of it. She scrolls back and sees what her normal For You page is. But 6 months later when she's graduating, she doesn't know what she's doing. Maybe she thinks back to your video and is like, well, maybe I should just try this community college thing doing this instead, because my parents aren't even really helping me with funds, I mean, whatever's going on. I mean, because in all actuality, not everyone can afford college anymore. And it's
Right.
just, there's a huge thumbs down stereotype towards community college. But I mean, my career tech center, the tech center I did in high school, I had like 3 college course credits I could use just coming out of that, and I didn't use them because I chose this instead. So they have a way of baiting you. Like there was nothing for me to do this. I had to fill out, everyone's filling out scholarships when you're 18 and everyone's filling out those scholarships and you're like, I've just been a redneck for 4 years. I don't know what I don't know. I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay here and grow old with the trees and be part of the community. I don't know. There's tons of kids like that, and they get a bad rep because, people look at kids and they say, oh, they just spend all their time on their phone. Well, look at what our phones have done for us. I mean,
Mhm.
I wouldn't have been on this podcast with you actually if you know, it was like my 4th year apprenticeship. I was like a couple weeks before I was going to test for my journeyman's license. I had a van already because we had been prepping for me to go do stuff alone. So we'd been doing little things here and there, and I've been helping people on jobs with my van, and I came into work on Monday to everything gone. Like someone broke in the van and they stole all of my tools.
No.
When that happened, it didn't only just change me as a person, but it also kind of made me realize like everything I had, even though some of that was like terrible, like it's all replaceable.
Mhm.
They make it every day. And like, I'm just going to keep doing this. So like, it still keeps happening while you're doing work like this and stuff. Like we all go through crazy stuff, but I think that at the end of the day, when you're doing a job like this and you have crazy things happen, like all your tools get stolen, you kind of grow with it. And I mean, even though this is one of those jobs where some days you don't know what you're getting yourself into and you kind of hope for better and you're not really, nothing's working. At the end of the day, it's a very rewarding job because, like, even though I got everything taken from me, the fact that I got it, collected it back, went through insurance, whatever had to happen, went through the whole process, got it back so that I could work again and stuff. I still went and I tested for my license. I just waited a while and I ended up passing. But you can doubt that you're going to make this the whole entire way. Like the entire time you're doing this, you can doubt it. But at the end of the day, life's going to kick you with something that you never thought you were going to have to worry about, and you're going to end up making this. So I think people doubt themselves a lot. I mean, because like when everything got taken out of my van, I was literally like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I'm not doing this. And it took like 2 days for me to snap out of it. But that day, I made a video and I posted it on TikTok. And it's one of those things where, you see a viral video and then you click on the person's profile and then the signature. I didn't know anyone was going to see this. Like, I didn't know. I was that.
Blow up.
That was me. I was her. And the blow up was small. It literally was like 6,000 people, 5,000 people saw it, I think, of me totally like, it's still on my page because like I feel like I'd be fake if I deleted it. But it's on my page at like the bottom of me, like bags under my eyes, being like, I can't believe I'm making this video, but I lost everything this morning when I went to work. And like, Klein Tool saw it. They stitched it. They sent me some tools and they stitched it, and all these people saw it. And like, it literally started a following because I feel like I only had like 300 followers when that happened.
Yeah.
And I don't have many still. Like, I am not with the big dogs. The baby creator, but they kind of were the ones that started this whole thing for me because I I didn't realize people wanted to see anything I did. I mean, that you just see videos of other people doing it, and it's like, oh, that's sweet. And then all of a sudden, like, maybe I could bake them. That's the other thing. Like, I don't think people realize how many people there are like you and me making these videos. Because
We
I
have a
tell,
community. Like,
yeah,
it is a big community too, and you don't realize it until you post and something happens like you had, and then all of a sudden you realize, like, wait, I'm not alone. Like, there are other women, there are people that support women, like,
100%. I mean, that was one of those things where, I mean, that's why that brought me back to the original statement on that, on just like, I wouldn't be on this podcast if it weren't for them doing that.
mhm.
So it's one of those things where, you really never know what you're going to get into, but the support that you end up with is almost overwhelming. I mean, the online thing I was never expecting. And I might have it just because I have such a small shop that I come from. Like, this is a very family oriented place. Like, husband and wife own it and run it, and like, he's my boss, and then we have a service manager, couple people in the office. It's small, but you know, we help everybody. So every single day of my life here is different.
Mm-hmm.
Because some days I get 7 work orders that are really small, and maybe we only get one of them done because we got to the first job and we found out there was actually a lot more they wanted us to do than they told us. Odd.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
So stuff like that happens a lot, but it keeps it from being boring. Like, I feel like that's another thing that it's not talked up enough, is like, this is fun. And I will say with my whole heart, I've said it to apprentices before, um I can look back on the worst days I've had at work and I can actually laugh at them because it's
Mm-hmm.
ridiculous. Some of the stuff we deal with is just crazy, and I mean, you deal with it too, to the point where, like, you go home and actually, instead of being mad about it, the biggest fear of like hating your job and being mad about your job when you get home, like, sometimes, those days happen, frustration, but like a lot of times it's like, I actually can't believe that happened. That
Right.
was
Like,
crazy. Like,
was that real life?
yeah, like, is this a sitcom or real life? Like, is this a show?
Yeah,
Like,
sometimes it feels like the world is playing a prank on you, but like that's also the beauty of the trades. Like that's my two favorite things is that nothing ever stays the same. Like if you like change, if you can adapt to different environments and deal with different challenges, but also like it never gets boring. You are just always doing something different. That's the beauty
absolutely.
of it. And also, if you hate it, if you hate a certain job, like next thing you know, it will be done and you'll be at another one. Like nothing lasts forever.
That's the best part. I mean, I have never been on a job more than a couple months, you know what I mean? Because they
Hmm.
just go like that. I have a couple like customers and like properties that, I've been at since I started working here, and since I've obtained my license, I've, taken it over as mine. But, for the most part, I mean, you also find yourself with a lot of people, like, all of a sudden, like, you work for everybody in your town and stuff, and maybe the towns around it, and all of a sudden you go to like get your groceries and you're running into like 5 of your customers, and you know it's kind of a nice feeling. It's nice to feel like you're helping people. I mean,
Yeah.
I think one of the things that is not talked about for like specifically the electrical trade is people are really scared of electricity. And I think that's, yeah, it's one of the reasons people don't even consider being an electrician.
Yeah. And
There's
I'm a welder and I get shocked all the time, but still like I hate this light fixture in here. Like could I probably change it out myself? Probably. Am I gonna? No, I'm gonna hire someone. Like
valid though. And I mean, what I try to do when I go to somebody's house, like for example, like let's just say they're literally calling us because they just bought a house for the first time. They're in their 30s. They don't know anything about anything with their house or what's in it and how things work. Anytime that happens, I just, I try to step out and help them with like everything and not just the electrical, like explaining things that maybe I've learned being in the trades of, people feel so dumb not knowing things nowadays because knowledge is at the click of our hands. Google is available to everyone, and people are so quick to be like, well, you could just Google it.
right.
But there's no such thing as common sense for things like electricity and plumbing other than water goes downhill and electricity hurts.
It hurts.
People don't know the difference between the 3 holes in their outlet. They
No.
don't know it. The regular person doesn't know it. And they shouldn't, because there's all these years of school. You go to school from when you're, what, 6 to at least 18? And they don't teach you anything about it whatsoever, but it's something that can really hurt you if you, like, mess with it.
Yeah.
So, instilling peace of mind in people and even just teaching people and trying to make them feel like, you're not dumb. You don't not know something. You shouldn't know this. Like, it's not common sense, honestly, unless you start seeing people like shoving stuff into outlets and stuff. Like, common sense is, it exists, but like, I don't think people expect to just know so much. And, as an electrician, and when I go to people's houses and I try to fix stuff, I always try to just, tell them, like, when they're scared of stuff, no, I totally understand, but I just want you to know when you're plugging something into an outlet, like, the odds of things just blowing up when you do it, they're like really low, and you might just be causing like stress on yourself for no reason, like, or just going through a old person's panel or something and showing them how it works. Like, I really try to explain stuff to people because that's what I needed to learn this stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
I had to ask the dumb questions. The dumbest question you ask is the one you didn't.
Me
Oh,
too. I always asked every question, like, why are we doing this? What does this go to? Like, what is the purpose? I wanted to understand. And like the old guys, they loved that. They're like, wait, you actually want to learn this? Like, yes, that's why I'm here. Please teach me. Like,
absolutely. I mean, I tell apprentices when they first start, like, for the electrical side, like, you're not going to be able to just physically do a lot of this stuff, so you're going to have to watch some of it and listen, and I know that's just annoying, but if you show up with like screwdriver, a pair of pliers, a knife, some tape, and just keep your hands out of your pockets when you're not working and just try to pay attention,
yeah.
you're already just totally ciphering yourself out from the rest. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like it really does. I mean, putting the extra 30 seconds into what you do as an apprentice and not worrying about how fast you do stuff, but how good the quality is, and then worrying about the timeliness. It's just stuff that, when people think about, oh, if I was going to be an electrician, I don't think I could put lights in. I mean, that would take forever to put something like that in. And, it's all stuff that's not worth worrying about because you find yourself just cranking work out with super good quality because, if you just practice nice and tidy stuff as an apprentice, by the time you have the license, the pace comes with it. But that's something I see people deal with a lot too.
And it's crazy how fast you can learn and catch on. Like, I was even thinking today while I was like sweating copper and stuff, like, I was thinking back to like a time when I was just like learning how to do all that. And I was like, there's no way that I'm ever going to be like efficient at this or anything. And like you said, I was like cranking it out, like, had all my solder joints like ready to go. It really is funny, just like the confidence that you get too after a while, like, because you go from thinking like I could never do that to being able to do jobs by yourself and being
Absolutely.
independent.
I mean, I feel like the past couple of months alone, even I've said to, because we have some new apprentices, so I usually work alone, but now I usually have someone with me now. I constantly find myself doing jobs that, when I was in their shoes and I wasn't the journeyman, and I try to think of them like if I was watching me in their shoes, just like I used to watch the journeyman. Like, I realize, like, I think our generation are really good teachers. I think we're very verbal. I think we're really motivated to teach anyone below us what we know. And that's something that we can use to our advantage because when I'm trying to see myself through their eyes, I'm always like, oh, hey, if you're worried about this right now, I just want you to know when I was in your shoes, I watched somebody do this too, and I didn't think I was going to be able to do it. Like, I'd never thought I was going to be able to get my license and just do some of the stuff I find myself doing. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah. What do you think you can do it right now? Because I didn't think I could. And they're like, no. And I'm like, exactly. Like, that's what, like, it is intimidating, especially like doing services for apprentices in electrical. I feel like, that's like kind of, that's like easiest for me to relate to. But I mean, they'll have they won't have the same job twice for like 2 months. So it'll be hard. They'll be like, "Oh, wait, yeah, that I do remember that. I do remember that a little bit, but I don't remember the details." And so just like it can be hard to grab all the ingredients you need to make a really nice cake. You know, after it bakes a while, it comes out pretty good. Like it does not take that long. I remember my first day being really intimidated, and then I remember my first week being like, I made it. And then the first month being like, my God, I know more than my first week. And then I remember the first year being like, dang, I like know to do some stuff. That's crazy. I mean, when you really sit back, if you're just starting the trades or you're just starting your apprenticeship right off, I suggest doing that. I suggest self-reflecting a lot because sometimes you don't even realize what you're learning or you don't even realize what you saw someone do until you're driving home and you think back on it. Because, the thing I have apprentices ask is like, well, when's it all just gonna make sense? When's it all gonna click? And I'm like,
Never.
I don't know. I think like one day, for at least for like the electrical theory, I'm like, it does kind of just click one
Yeah.
day, like, and the magic happens and you just kind of get it. But we are in 2024 and, especially like the stuff we do, it changes every day. So once we get them to like understand electrical theory and stuff, it makes it a lot easier to kind of branch into some of the newer installs that we have to do because our code book changes every 3 years. So, by the time an apprentice starts with our code book, they're testing in a different one. And, it can be kind of difficult for them.
Yeah, that's how the plumbing aspect of ours is too, because I'm a journeyman pipe fitter, but if I wanted to go get like my state plumbing license, I would have to like study code for weeks
Right.
because I just don't do plumbing. Like I do like heavy industrial, like stainless piping, and that's all like I believe ASME is our code for that, and it's like a
Yeah.
whole different monster.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So do you have any other women that work at your company, or are you the only one?
When I started, I was the only one other than in the office.
Mhm.
But when I was 18, it was just me, and nobody saw me coming. They were not ready. They did not know. They were really surprised, and nobody gave me a hard time. Nobody gave me a hard time. They were just like really surprised to have me around. But they were so encouraging, and they were so cool, and they were so like eager to teach me stuff. I think they were just surprised, as honestly, I don't even blame them because it's definitely one of those things where like you're kind of a unicorn. I
Yeah,
mean, there's
especially in a small town like you said you're from.
yeah, I mean, we're
Yeah.
part of 4% is a really small percentage. And when we start breaking that down in
Yeah.
categories of like women and their trade that they belong to, I mean, it's small. But I will say Vermont is a kind state. It's one of those places where when you've lived in it your whole life and stuff, you get sick of people calling it boring. I mean, like I said, I'm turning 25 literally tomorrow, so like I've been here. This is the only state I've lived in. And I'm at such a point of like I love it here. I really love I don't know if it's cuz I'm getting older or what it is, but like the fall, like everything about it, like I'm very happy to be where I am. And I'm very lucky too because I did start this alone, but by the time my third year came, we actually hired another 18-year-old female apprentice who
Mm.
had done the same class as me in high school. And
Nice.
she graduated the tech center. I don't want to say what date it was because I'll have it mixed up, but it was a couple years after me, and I remember being like kind of scared. I remember being like, "Oh my God, there's gonna be a girl at work." I haven't dealt with a girl at work before. I hope she's nice. Like, I was kind of worried about, like, high school drama. Like, that was one of the perks, was like being the only chick, never having to deal with anything because these are 50-year-old guys. Like
Right, exactly.
it's all rainbows over here. And she threw me for the biggest loop. She literally is just, I'm so proud of her. She's such a
Oh,
badass. She's taken this whole thing and she's just made it everything she wants it to be. It's such a privilege to work with other females, but it is such a privilege to teach them.
yeah.
It's nothing I've ever felt before. Like, I'm so proud of my work, but like, oh, the fact that I've taught like this girl anything and she's doing so well, like, it makes you feel so good. And we recently just hired another female,
Yay.
literally just a couple weeks ago. So there's 3 of us, and actually there's like, let me like really do the counting here. We have like 4 guys too. So we're right there with them. So
Wow.
we have 4 guys in the field, and then we have 3 of us. So we're out there, and we usually have more. We're in one of those little
Yeah.
waves right now. We get them, but usually have a lot more people, but it's definitely a wave right now. Everybody up here where I am located in the state of Vermont is like this right now. Everybody's a small little shop,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody's super packed. Like, we try to get small calls that come in done like within the week they're in. There's some companies having to throw out like 3 months like wait time for some people for like small calls, and it's like, yeah, it's everywhere right now. It's definitely really hard for everyone right now. But that's why it's been so great having these other ladies around, because like I said, I never in a million years thought it would be like, I'm going to teach other chicks, like, it changed everything. I never expected that, but it's definitely awesome because having so many like girls in the shop, like when I started here, if anyone gave me a problem like ever outside of our shop, because nobody in our shop gave me a problem ever,
Right.
if anyone, like the public, like when you're working in commercial jobs for like big apartment buildings, you like, there's always like gonna be some old guy or something that's gonna hit you with the classic asking your journeyman, how did you get such a pretty electrician? How did you get a girl electrician to work with you? And it's like, yeah, that's creepy. That, stop asking him that. Like,
Yeah.
and then your journeyman just like, I can't answer that. Like, I'm not trying to be a creep either. So we've all
Leave her
battled,
alone.
yeah, like we've all battled that together, as a company, and that's why it's fun having more chicks around.
Yeah.
Because, when I was 18, I didn't know I could bite back. Like, I didn't know I could, like, you know, tell them, if you're feeling lucky, go buy a lottery ticket. I'm not the one to mess with, like, you're allowed to verbally defend yourself.
And it's fun.
It is fun.
It
It's
is
fun.
fun.
It's fun lighting a fire under some of these guys' ass, that's for sure. They never see you coming.
They
They're
don't.
so used to just getting everything done one way, and then all of a sudden you're in the way.
Yep.
And instead of just guys being guys and not saying anything to each other, all of a sudden it's, you can't just move my tool bag like that. I don't know what this is. And then they look over at you like your head's cut off, and it's like, yes, I have a mouth that speaks.
Yep, I'm defending myself. I'm about to cuss you out.
Yep. And I'm lucky because I haven't had to deal with a lot of that stuff anyway, but I'm I don't want to like shorten up on the girls or anything, because although I have 2 ladies that work with me in the field, I've also worked with a lot of painters that are women. I've worked with, I was a couple mason women. I've worked with a couple women who do like roofing stuff. Impressive. I've also seen women in the field who do carpentry and like building, and they're so badass. I feel like they could build a really nice house in just a couple days. Like, they're just absolute beasts. And then I also have something a little bit different, because there's a girl named Kaylee who's my age, and she actually is a branch manager for one of the CEDs, which is like a big electrical supply house near me. And she's just as badass as it gets. I mean, anytime I have a part that I'm like unsure about, yeah, you can just call her. She will get you that part. Like, I deal with a lot of supply houses and stuff, and she is just one of those people that just makes you feel so important. And it's cool because I consider her part of the field in terms of like where you buy your parts is that's like 90% of what you do. Like, you can't do
Yeah.
what you do without your parts. So it's always nice to have a good hookup like that. And when I saw that whole like um when you asked about like people in the field, I thought about her because she's definitely, I mean, she's changed the game for me a bit, that's for sure. Ever since she's come along, it's like, wow, I definitely know there's someone I can go to that I 100% like know has my back because she's a badass bitch.
It is really nice when the people at the supply house know what you're talking about. Like, because yesterday I had to go to the supply house and something as simple as a clevis hanger, this guy did not know what that was. And then also, like, sandcloth, like open mesh, like he didn't know. I'm like, how do you not? I'm sure he was new, but I'm like, oh my gosh, bro, like I will just look myself.
Seriously, that is like, yeah, I all of the supply houses near me are really great.
That's
I don't really
good.
deal with any issues from them, but yeah, it's awesome living in a place where you're just so accepted. I mean, I've seen female gas techs, is that what I call them? I gotta get better with my words. I'm not used to this type of stuff, but yeah, I've seen gas techs, I've seen plumbers. I mean, when I graduated my apprenticeship and we went to like do the in-person graduation because I got subjected to the in-class going to online, my stupid COVID.
Yeah.
My classes went from like in person real stuff to like, oh, we're in a Zoom meeting now. Like,
So did
I'm
my
in my
apprenticeship.
house.
My
Yeah, so
my
like I'm allowed to work everywhere and be labeled as an essential worker, but we can't go to class together. So like, yeah, I feel for any of the kids dealing with like the apprenticeship online, but it's not that bad and it seems to be a new trend anyway.
I liked it because I don't even know if I should talk about this, but everybody in our class would just turn their video off. And, like, I know people were not doing
Oh my
what
god,
they were
yeah.
like, them guys would be at the bar, literally, I'm pretty sure, and they would just have it, like, muted until the teacher would be like and then I would be the one answering all the questions anyways, because
Yeah, I don't know if I should. I'm like, I guess because I'm not throwing names out, it's fine. But like, I'm not even kidding. One kid drove like across country, like while we did our apprenticeship class, and like he would be like, "I'm sorry, I don't have great service. I'm driving through so and so," and I'm like, "How is this? Like, wait, what? Like, I
the
thought we had to
perks
have a
of Zoom
notebook and
class.
stuff." Like, my third year I felt like I couldn't do anything in my class because they were kind of like very much like, you could only turn the camera off if you're going to the bathroom, but like they didn't really want you to ask to go to the bathroom, so people would just like turn it off and go. But I felt like every time I turned mine off, they'd be like, "Hey, where did you go?" Well, I didn't want to interrupt you. This is really awkward with the bubbles.
Dude,
So yeah,
yeah.
I was also one of those people who like really benefited from like, hey teacher, I need you to point in this book because I need a hand with this. I'm confused. So when that left, I was like, crap. I gotta use the brain cells here. Wicked steam's coming out of the ears now. Yeah, so it's definitely not that bad, but I think I stressed myself out during it.
Yeah. Yeah, that definitely can get stressful. So, to wrap us up, if you could give one piece of advice to a woman who's just starting out in your trade or in any trade, what would that be?
Well, honestly, I dealt with self doubt more than anything else. And if you're just starting this and tomorrow's your first day, I'm going to tell you straight up, don't let anyone make you feel like you can't do this, including yourself. Because you might see somebody do something and say to yourself, I'll never be there. I'll never be that. That's your decision. You can be that. You just got to keep showing up. You got to keep putting in the work. And before you know it, you could be that and so much more. You could be better than that. I mean, that would be my biggest thing, because I wish somebody told me to stop doubting myself so much when I was going through it, because every single day I doubted it until I passed that test. Once you got it, it's pretty hard to lose it unless you do something stupid.
Right.
So that's what I would tell anyone starting out, is just, people want to make it out like this is harder than it is. People who aren't doing this, men, kinda, possibly, in this situation,
Yeah.
who maybe aren't doing something like this, might hear that you're doing something like this, and they might kind of gaslight you into making it out like, yeah, you're probably not gonna make it out. You're not gonna make it out of this. But you will. You definitely will. I mean, none of it is rocket science. And I mean that so literally, it just feels like it is. But seriously, don't let yourself get yourself down, because there's enough crazy stuff in the world. You gotta have some faith in yourself that you can do this. Because people like me did it, and I didn't pass school the best. All right? I failed Algebra 1. There's my secret.
And you're
It's
still an
out.
electrician.
Yep. I don't know what just
It's excited that you failed Algebra 1. It's celebrating.
comes up.
I don't know.
I have no idea what
It
just
was
happened. That
it
was
was
like some
really
AI.
we were celebrating that you failed algebra, but still are very successful. So who needs math anyways? Not us.
Seriously, but
But yeah, if you're not gonna have faith in yourself, like who else is gonna? Like,
yeah. Well, everyone makes it out like you got to worry about men and people harassing you and stuff. But like, I mean, other than the old guys who call you cute and stuff when you're working for them, like, unless you're dealing with some crazy stuff, like, I've never seen anything too nuts happen. I've taken
yeah,
myself off a couple jobs because, like, I'm not working for this guy if he's hitting on me. I'm not doing that. You don't have to do that. Like, you can
valid.
remove yourself. Like, it's
Yeah,
all good. It's all good. There's more jobs.
there's
There's more
always
jobs.
another job out there.
Yep, and might not be so weird at the next one. That's for sure.
Exactly. It might be better when one door closes, another one opens.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not very often anyway, but when you
Yeah.
do deal with it, it's pretty easy to close the door and not have to deal with it ever again.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. So don't let people scare you, because it's not as scary as people make it out to be. And when you're
Yeah.
18 looking at careers and stuff, this definitely seems like that's kind of scary. Not just like try it out. It's worth it. There's nothing to lose.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I think we had a really great conversation, and you definitely brought a lot of really good information to the table today for us.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. It was super cool. It was fun. I've never done anything like this, and yeah, I love the thought of helping. I mean, this is for women specifically, obviously, but I love the thought of young people in general
Yeah.
getting into this, because we really need them. And I mean, I when I was 18, this changed everything for me. And I just feel like a lot of people, they don't get the same opportunities I did to get this seat. So if anyone out there sees this and they think, well, I kind of want to do that, you should just try it then, because there's a lot of free opportunities to get a career going.
Yes,
But
yes, there
yeah,
are.
so I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much. It was a lot of fun.
Thank you. And I will link all her social media in the bio for this episode if you want to follow along on her adventures. And thank you. And I will look forward to talking to you again soon.
Absolutely. Have a good one. Thank you so much.